about the actual verdict here. And just for the I want to understand, count one was the most serious charge, carrying up to a life sentence. He has been found not guilty of racketeering, conspiracy, RICO. Not guilty. He has also been found not guilty of sex trafficking of Cassandra Ventura. She testified for days.
Oh, welcome on in to another episode of the Healthy Discussion Show. Now, I told you guys I was going to keep you posted on this one, and Diddy is not guilty of 3 out of 5 of his charges, right? But I want to share with you guys what this actually means for you and I. I want to share what this actually means for you and I. Think about it. You can't just fly a female out and say, hey, you want me to book you a flight here? Cool. She comes, and then what? She can go home and say X, Y, and Z. So this goes to show laws are literally changing as we speak. Now, do I think that Diddy at least deserves some type of domestic violence charge? That was for the record. That was for the record. He was actually on video doing these things, so you can't unsee that. But as far as these extraneous, egregious, different charges added upon it, I never supported that. I thought that some of these things was actually consented. They want to be a part of the lifestyle. They would do whatever to be a part of the lifestyle, right? And some of these things can allegedly, they could say be forced, but how could you be forced to do something when you consented to do it? Now, we understand shame, guilt, and remorse. That kind of happens afterwards. But let me continue with this story so you guys can see what's going on. Then we're going to talk about it a bit more. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. That's all I ask. Also, go check out my merch store as well. Designer Fi is going to be pinned to the top of the chat. Let's do it.
We're also learning that he's been found guilty of the transportation to engage in prostitution count involving Cassandra Ventura. He has been found not guilty of sex trafficking of Jane, who is the girlfriend that he was dating as well, and guilty of the transportation to engage in prostitution. Now, Elizabeth, this is very, very significant. We had an inkling yesterday when there was a hung jury on the initial RICO charge, the most serious, that there might be an actual acquittal there or a hung jury. The prosecution insisted on having it keep going. The defense wanted it to keep going. And now we know they have a result. It is a not guilty verdict. Talk to me more broadly here, because the Prostitution Act, people thought it was kind of a low-hanging fruit. He was found guilty of those, but not sex.
And I don't want people, and you listen to what these ladies are just saying. He's not sex trafficked, not this, not that. He's not responsible for that. I think that they was reaching with that. Also, don't forget the main character, right? The main purpose of this is, you remember what happened to Diageo. Think about the business aspect of it, right? He upsetted the higher power, so they tried to obviously defamation of character and everything else, right? So be very careful with that. But I also want to hit a point that he already been serving 9 months to a year, correct? Let's just say that they give him the maximum he can get for each 2 charges is 6 years, and they're not going to do it consecutively, right? He can do 60% good behavior, right? Max he may face is 2 to 3 years, if that. And don't let him get pardoned, because he's still worth billions of dollars, millions, if not, right? Hundreds of millions. He can also get pardoned as well. That's a whole nother thing. I'm going to do an upload on that. But let's continue. Let me know your thoughts and what you think. Did you guys think he was totally going to be guilty? I thought he was going to walk away scot-free, especially based on the allegations, right? But as far as domestic and him being a public image, they have to do some form of example. But also this goes to show, fellas, flying them out ain't the thing no more.
Trafficking of Cassie.
This is the best possible outcome for the defense. This is what, of course, they wanted a full acquittal. But if you're not getting a full acquittal, this is what they wanted. Their client is now not facing life in prison. He is facing 2 separate charges that he was convicted on. Serious charges. They each carry a maximum of 10 years. So this isn't nothing that we are talking about. But the most serious charges, he has been.
Pause. Also, they carry a maximum of 10 years, right? But think about it like this. He's already been serving. He has money. The judge is probably going to lead towards, they're going to try to do it in the middle, 5 to 6 years. And then they're going to add the different parameters. He already served a year. Good behavior. Money. 2 years, 3 years max. 2 years, 3 years max, unless he decides to violate his probation or anything along that nature. But we will see. We will see. It's only in a matter of time. But I thought this was good as far as not supporting what he do, but as far as justice, right? I thought that they was just sticking out egregious law cases and suits against him. And they consented to do these things just for fame and fortune. That's what happens. People do a lot of strange things to get in those rooms, to get millions of dollars in their pocket. Why you think the majority of people aren't millionaires or billionaires? It's only a group or a handful of people that are, because you have to do some egregious things in order, or some weird things, or some highly weird things in order for you to even sit around the table. I think that is well known. Are you willing to do it? That's your choice, your way of life,
Acquitted on. As Laura said, days of testimony from Cassie Ventura, from Jane, Cassie being on the stand for 4 days, Jane being on the stand for 6 days, these women crying, breaking down on the stand. Well, guess what? The jury did not believe most of their story, or even if they believed most of their story, it did not line up with those charges. So,
And by the way, on that point,
it was all for the money. It was all for the money. It was all for the money. It was obvious that it was all for the money. Cassie even went to get married and then still went back with Diddy. So what does that prove? It's all for the money. She needed some more money. Why? Because once you're a part of that lifestyle, anything else beneath that doesn't make sense. You get my drift? So you can't just go back to being normal when you're living a life way above your means. But let's continue. In fact, we're going to pick up with this a bit later. I'm going to leave the description down below. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. Another episode of the Healthy Discussion Show. Diddy, as far as a couple of his charges, has been acquitted and dropped. So we will see.